Next abiotic factor, that is the water. So as we know that life originated in water. So we all know this by studying our last unit, that is the evolution, uh, genetics and evolution. There we have got the evolution chapter where we have studied that life originated on water for the first time on earth. So that means this life, so this water is very very essential for the organisms, and the productivity and distribution of organisms is dependent on water. So the productivity means the number of the amount of energy produced, and the distribution, that means the energy thus produced get that to be distributed. All these are dependent on the water or the water source. So here in this particular part we shall study both how the terrestrial plants and animals are affected by water, how the aquatic plants and animals are affected by water. So first, the terrestrial plants. So the terrestrial plants, we can find three types of plants in the land, that is hydrophytes, next mesophytes, and xerophytes. So three types of plants are basically produced on the basis of water supply. If the water, the plants growing in water lost areas, if the plants are grown in water lost areas or the water logging areas, okay, so these types of plants are known as hydrophytes. So what are mesophytes? Mesophytes are plants growing in moist areas. So what is moist area? Moist area means it is where the humidity is high. That areas are known as the moist areas. So these plants are growing in the moist areas. And xerophytes. Xerophytes are plants growing in dry areas or dry conditions. So they are known as the xerophytes. So what is the thing? Hydrophytes. Here we can see the plants, they have different types of adaptation. Adaptation means the changes within themselves with the environment. So you can see a different type of change. Here you can see one type of change. For example, water lost areas. For example, in forest areas where the water get lost or water are is remaining in the areas for some time. There you can see organisms or plants are one type. Next, in mesophytes like the areas here where the moisture is high or the humidity is high in the air. So that areas you can see one type. And the third type, that is the xerophytes, where the plants are growing in dry areas. For example, desert, you can see a particular adaptation in them. For example, in case of cactus, you can see a particular type of adaptation. So these are the differences between the plants with the availability of water. Okay, next, terrestrial animals. So how the terrestrial animals are affected? So these animals are dependent on water, or directly or indirectly. So what I have told, that these animals, terrestrial animals, are dependent on water for their life, directly or directly means through water consumption, and indirectly means through the food they take. Okay. So here in these areas, for example in the tropical areas, problem is not there. Problem is no problem is there, because the water is available. Here a particular animal can directly drink the water, or they get the food, and through the food they get the water. But what about the dry organisms, but dry area animals? For example, camel. What happens to them? So in case of camel, so camel, you have seen this. If this is the mouth, then this is, there is a hump here. I think you have seen this. And they derive their water supply from this particular hump. So what is this hump? Hump is the nothing but the additional fats. Okay, so the additional fat particles that reside here. So what is this? How this fat comes? Fat comes from the food they take. Okay. So after taking the food, the fat particles are deposited here. Then the fatty oxidation takes place. The fatty acid oxidation takes place. After oxidation, this water is released, which uh, supplements the needs of this particular camel. That means the camel get its water supply from the food it takes. Same in case of snake, desert snake. So the desert snake eats up the suppose a rat, desert rat. So that desert they take the desert rat. So while taking the desert rat has the blood within it. So that blood comes within the mouth of the snake, and this blood is the source of water within the snake. So that is the thing. So in dry areas, the animals take their water supplement from the food they take. Okay. So this is all about the terrestrial animals. Next, the aquatic plants and animals. Aquatic plants and animals. So, what about the aquatic plants and animals? So, it is residing in water. So, water supplement is always there within the body. But the main thing that is judging the plants and animals distribution upon water or within the water, that is the pH and salinity. So, what I have told, that is the plants and animals are residing in water, no problem. But all plants or all animals do not reside in all waters. For example, a freshwater or river water organism cannot reside in the sea water, or a sea water organism cannot reside in a fresh water. Why? Because the difference in the pH and the salinity. So what is the pH? pH is the amount of acidic or the basic condition, and salinity means the amount of salt that is dissolved in the water. For example, in case of sea water, generally we can find 33% salt, but in fresh water, in comparison to that, there is 0 to 1% salt. So very less. So that means these organisms distribution, that where they will reside, that depends upon two things, that is the pH and the salinity. Okay. Next, on the basis organisms are of two types. If animals survive in wide range of salinity, so what I have told, that these animals, suppose an animal survive at wide range of salinity. Wide range of salinity means if the salinity, the salt condition changes in the water, then they will survive. For example, a seawater organism comes to the fresh water, salinic condition changes, so it can survive. If animals survive in all range of the salinity, then that type of animal is known as euryhaline. They are known as euryhaline. Eury means in all types. Example, for example, salmon. So I think you know that salmon is a particular seawater organism, seawater fish. So they come to fresh water for spawning. So what is spawning? Spawning means egg laying. So they come to fresh water for spawning. After spawning, they dies off or they move to the sea water again. Two things can take place. But salmon is a particular type of fish that can reside in seawater and freshwater both. These are known as euryhaline animals or euryhaline organisms. Next type of organism, that is, if animal survives in narrow range of salinity. So what I have told, that these animals survive in narrow range of salinity. Narrow means very low range. If you change the salinity very slightly, they will die off. Then this type of animals are known as stenohaline. This type of animals are known as stenohaline. For example, shark. If you take a particular shark from seawater and bring it to the fresh water, it will die off. Why? Because it cannot survive in the wide range of salinity. It will survive in the narrow range of salinity. Therefore, it is known as stenohaline. Okay? So, this is the effect of water on organisms. Next, we shall see the another abiotic factor, that is the light. Next abiotic factor, that is the light. So what is light? It is the visible part of electromagnetic spectrum, that is 390 to 740 nanometer. So what I have told, that is the, what is light? Light means the visible part of electromagnetic spectrum. So the part of the electromagnetic spectrum which makes us to see or to visible, that part is known as the light. Next, light, as we know that light varies with the latitude and season. So what I have told, that is the light varies with the latitude and the season. We know that at the winter time there is light concentration is less at the summer area, at the summer time, the light concentration is high. Next, with the latitude, what happens with the latitude? As we know that if I have discussed earlier that if this is the Earth, this is the equator. Here the light concentration is high. To some extent, here is low, and here is very less light. Okay, so in the tropical areas, light concentration is high. In the temperate areas, to some extent less. In the tundra or the polar areas, the concentration of light is very less. Okay, so this light affects the life of various organisms. So light affects as we know that on the basis of light and temperature, organisms are distributed on this earth in various places. So how this effect takes place? So what is the effect of light on plants? First we shall see. Next, the effect of light on animals, that we shall see in the next. So first, the effect of light on plants. Effect of light on plants. So how these plants are affected by light? Next, okay. First, the formation number one, that is formation of chlorophyll pigment. So what is this chlorophyll pigment? Chlorophyll pigment is a pigment that is present within the plants that helps them to produce their own food by photosynthesis. Okay, so here the photosynthesis takes place, and after the photosynthesis takes place, they can produce as a result of photosynthesis, they can produce their own food. And this particular photosynthesis requires a green pigment, that is the chlorophyll, which accepts the light particles. So we have studied all this in photosynthesis chapter in the first year classes. So this you can see here, if the concentration of light is high, that means the number of chlorophyll must be high. If number of chlorophyll high, then they will produce more food. Next, if the concentration of light is less, then they must produce so the chlorophyll pigment must be required is less, because they have to produce less energy. Okay, so that is the formation of chlorophyll is also dependent on the effect of light. Next, that is the number 2, distribution of chloroplasts. Next, that is the distribution of chloroplasts. So how the chloroplasts are distributed? This chloroplast contain chlorophyll pigment. So how here the main photosynthesis takes place. So how the chloroplasts are distributed? That is dependent upon the light. Where the light is high, intensity of light is high, the chloroplasts are evenly distributed. If the concentration of light is low, then the chloroplast number is also and distribution is also less. So that is the thing. Next, number 3, same thing, that is the photosynthesis. So photosynthesis, this photosynthesis is highly dependent on light. Where light intensity is high, there the photosynthesis easily takes place. Okay, if light intensity is low, then the photosynthesis cannot easily take place. Okay, so here let me make you know another thing. I think I have discussed in first year classes that euglena, a particular organism, it have the character of both plants and animals. So what is a plant character? It bears chloroplast, it can do photosynthesis. What is the animal character? Though it bears chloroplast, it do not produce its own food. For example, if a euglena is in the light, in high light, and abundant of food, then it will go for the uh, heterotypic heterotropic consumption of food. Okay, it will not produce its own food by autotrophic process. But where the food concentration is less and there is a chances of doing the photosynthesis because light intensity is high in the water, so it can do its photosynthesis and produce its own food. But in the dark, where the euglena is in the dark condition, it cannot produce its own food. Then it will go for its heterotropic nutrition process. So that is the thing. Next, number 4, development of flowers, fruits, seeds, etc. As we know that some flowers they bloom at the night time, some flowers they bloom at the at the daytime, and some flowers bloom at the dawn or dusk. That is the thing. So so this development of flowers is also dependent on the intensity of light. If the intensity of light, some flowers they bloom out when the intensity of light is high, some flowers bloom out when the intensity of light is very low, at most almost negligible like the night time, or some flowers bloom out when the intensity of light is uh, not so more, not so high, not so low. So that means the dawn or dusk time. So same thing with the fruits. Some fruits they ripe out during various times of the year or various seasons. Okay, so they ripe out in various seasons. So the same thing with the seeds. This seeds germination also takes place at various time of the uh, year. So that is wholly dependent on the light. Okay. Next, number 5, length of day. Length of day. So here we can see length of day. So the length of day is highly dependent on the plants. So here we can see, for example, nowadays in the summer season, some flowers like, for example, what I can take the example in the summer season when the intensity of light is high, some flowers they bloom out, but some flowers they dies off. For example, marigold that dies off during the summer season. They again flourishes when during the winter season. So the thing is that with the light, though the temperature is a factor, at the same time light is also a factor. Some flowers they they are found all around the year, or some fruits they are found all around the year, so, or some vegetables. For example, let us take an example of vegetables. For example, cauliflower are mostly found in the winter season, but they are not found in the summer season. In some places it is found, but maximum places it is not found in the summer season. The thing is that they are formed, but they produce themselves during the during the winter season, but the summer season their development ceases, or there is no development. Some vegetables they are not affected by temperature. So the vegetables we are talking about, vegetables, flowers, all these are what? These are plants. So that means some plants they bloom out, or some plants they are found during the summer season where the length of day is long. That means length of day means the sun rises at 3:30 a.m. and it sets in at most of 6:30. PM. So that is the length of day is high. So they are known as long day plants. But in the winter season, what happens? Some flowers are found where the length of day is short. If you see the length of day, that is short. For example, the sun rises at 5:30, sets at 4:30 or 4:45 p.m. So that is the thing. So they are known as the short day plants. And some plants is not affected by the length of the day. They are known as day neutral plants. So there are three types of plants. There is long day plant, there are short day plants, and there are day neutral plants. Long day plant means they are affected by the length of the day. How much the length of the day, that is the long day plants. And short day plants means they are affected by short length of the day. And some plants are not affected by both the long and the short days. They are known as the day neutral plants. Okay. Next, number 6 character, that is light affects the movement of plants. That is known as phototropism. So what is this? In the lower classes you have done an experiment. What is the experiment? Suppose you have a window here. This is a window here. You plug a plant here. You keep a plant. The plant is getting the sunlight. The plant will easily grow. But if you if you slightly tilt this particular plant, so this plant is now this type, sun rays are here, then it will grow like this. I think you have understood this. So how it is affected, this movement, in which direction? In upward direction you have to move. So in which direction you have to move, that is dependent upon the light. That is known as the phototropism. That means towards light, movement towards light. So you can see here the movement of certain plants is towards light. For example, another example we can take. For example, the roots of plant. Roots of plant are opposite to light. They will move inward towards the earth. That means opposite towards light. So these movement of plants, that is stem upwards and root downwards, that is wholly dependent on the light. So this is all about the effect of light on plants. So next we shall study the effect of light on animals.